It's a 2-for-1 episode today. Hi, I'm Nick, and this is required reading on Retro Games with Nick. On today's episode, a calendar month has turned. We're now in April, and so we're going to look at the April releases of Computer Gaming World. And we're actually going to go over probably two magazines, because in the early days, 1984, which was, 40 years ago, and 1989, Computer Gaming World was a bit shorter and a little bit more business oriented from what I could tell. Also, in 1984, it only published once every 2 months, which is why we didn't cover it last month. So, yeah, let's go through it. Computer Gaming World, April 1984. As you can tell, it's a very different vibe because A, this game could be anything and nothing. There's a directory of game manufacturers inside of it, so let's get going. So let me rotate this page. Where's the rotate button? Oh lord. Old. View, rotate view. So this is ad for Microcomputer Games, which is part of the Avalon Game Company, which is all about war games of sorts. It looks like Gulf Strike, Under Southern Skies, Dreadnoughts. They were advertising for the Atari 32K, the Commodore 64, Atari home computers, Apple II, 2 Plus, and 2E. And Jupiter Mission 1999. It's Scott Slam's interactive space fantasy adventure. I admire these early games and the things that they could do with those very archaic computer games, but there's no way we're ever gonna play anything like Jupiter Mission 1999. I'm not gonna bother rotating here, but Strategic Simulations Inc. Again, a bunch of strategy and war games. Inside the industry. Most readers say you buy fewer computer games now and you're more selective about the ones you do buy. And then most of the readers still play many of the same non-computer games as you did before, but almost 1/3 of you have stopped playing these other types of games and now play computer games exclusively. Bunch of nerds. Adventure. Wait, does adventure include role-playing? Yeah, it looks like they forgot to close the parentheses. So we've got adventure with role-playing, wargame, arcade, abstract, and sports. Adventure games are like Zork, Ultima, Maces and Magic, Wizardry, Castle Wolfenstein. Computer war games, of course. Maybe that's really what this very early age was. This was the golden age of PC war games. Oh, and like I said, this is a survey that they're currently doing. Game playing aids from Computer Gaming World. Oh, they were straight up selling you software, huh? 4 team of the All-Star League reported in 3.3. Yeah, West All-Stars, AL East, NL West, and NL East. 6 teams. You need SSI's computer baseball Apple version to use the data disk. Back issues are now available. The first Wizardry game was covered in 2.3. Let's see if there's any games that ring a bell. Lunar Lander sounds familiar. Could Could be something that I know, could be something that I don't. Ultima 2. Mule I know of, mostly because of the NES port. Archon, same thing. Load Runner, of course. There are tips for Zorg 3 in this issue. Ultima 3 in 3.6, which would be December of the previous year, December 1983. Taking a peek. So these are like previews of software, which is more like ads of software, I guess. Pitfall. There's like one black and white. This is interesting because the people that were doing this were like, what's our best shot at actually selling this game with one screenshot? And the Excalibur people were just like, this is it. This is the screenshot I want. Yeah, none of these games, besides Pitfall, of course, but none of these games really. Gnosis is a complex word logic puzzle set within a role playing scenario. Your goal is to discover the secret names of the 7 Lords of Power. Also, that's kind of. Does sound kind of. Crisis Mountain for West. Zork. With our maps and handbooks, we won't spoil your fun. So you still want to write a computer game by Chris Crawford. The eternal truth of 1981 or the outdated misconceptions of 1984. Bold statement. Assembly language is still the only development language for serious game designer. I think BASIC, if I'm not mistaken. Ooh. Yeah, I think, yeah, BASIC is a high level language. And then Pascal and C stole its thunder. Until I guess Visual Basic came back. But yeah, so the difference is that you're programming and there's a compiler that tells the computer how to actually interpret those things. And apparently Chris Crawford believes no, if you want to real program games, you gotta get dirty with the performance and actually write an assembly language. Yeah, sometimes the marketplace is quirky, as it is. Polish, polish, polish. I guess Mule was very polished at the time. Or sick and tired of the clones of basic games. Amen. Complaining that there's too many specs. Commodore 64, IBM PC Junior, Atari home computers. happy about the extra 48K RAM. Even I, the squawking exponent of rugged individualism, resorted to a team effort to execute Excalibur. The team may become even more important. I wonder if you went back in time to 1984 and told somebody, yeah, a video game development team now has like 500 people. You'd be like, 500 people to do what? But I guess they couldn't really imagine what computers would be like 40 years from then. So he designed this game. Fantasy world based on Legend of King Arthur includes economics, diplomacy, magic, wars, and battles, friendship, loyalty, treachery, etc. Mm-hmm. Oh, technical issues. I like to see more objective criticism of games. Their shortcomings reveal their strong points, even if it means being uncomplimentary to advertisers. Also, read more detailed strategy tips and techniques. Your magazine isn't the only game in town, but certainly is the best. How about going monthly? Playing at Atari is not worth a good simulation of business software. TSR was the Dungeons and Dragons people. Alright. So, just letters. Complaining about the usual stuff, right? Things not working. Why are you not being more objective in your reviews? Stop liking the boots of the advertisers. Can I get the old issues? It's funny how things change and the more things change, the more things stay the same in a way. I'm confused. I guess this is a different mail order company, and they were like, we don't have any hidden fees yet. Oh, this is a straight up news section. Activision Inc. and Atari Inc. announced that they have agreed in principle to form a joint venture company to distribute software electronically to the home. Venture company service would use broadcast technology to transmit software to a home receiver that plugs into video computer systems. Yeah, this to me this does not make for particularly engaging reading. Bridge. Goran. Do we have a full page on a package that teaches you to play bridge? Oh, this is actually interesting. It's like it's like a tutorial on how to play bridge with like exercises. But it doesn't actually let you play bridge because, of course, you couldn't play with other people. New game notes. Oh, this is by the designer of Mule? No, not. Mule game. Danielle Bunton Berry, formerly known as Dan Bunton. Yeah, it's her. Hmm. This is actually somewhat interesting. She's telling you again. So, context for Mule, right? This is a gameplay screenshot. Basically, um you occupy a space. You can choose to devote the space to certain things, depending if there's mountains or a river. If it's just plain, you should grow one thing versus another. And then it's kind of like, a turn-based board game, almost in a way. Hmm. Interactive multiplayer game. Quintessential model was Monopoly, so they were basically trying to beat Monopoly. Economies of scales, adjacent properties in the same kind of production and learning curve. The more properties in the same type of word, the higher per unit production. Continue on page 42? What? Page 42? This is page 17. What's in between? Let's jump to page 42. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Special the ideas. Three kinds of terrain: river, valley, mountains, and plains. The commodities would be food, energy, smith ore, and crystite. Food was generic. Energy would reflect the variable cost of production. Smith ore was mining. Crystite. And the game does revolve a lot around auctions. You produce things and you try to sell them to other players. And of course, if everybody produces something of one thing, then the market goes down, the price goes down because there's lots of availability on the market. And then they added bells and whistles. And then random outcomes, of course, and chance cards and things of the sort. than Bunton he. It's sad. I mean, oh, she also wrote 7 CDs of Gold, I guess, huh? Cartels and Cutthroats with yeah. Okay. Yeah, she did make 7 cities of gold. That's cool. I guess that's gonna come technically this year, huh? Alright. Back to page 17. I don't understand why it couldn't be contiguous, or at least the next one, but whatever. Selling games. Apple, Atari, Commodore 64. So this is what people were actually. We went through the whole like 1984 year in review on the channel. Make sure to check out that video if you're curious of us discovering, what was popular at the time. And I guess, this is an American magazine, and the US was going through the video game crash. So it's interesting that, of course, there's no. The most popular system that year was the ZX Spectrum, and that's most of the games that we saw. But nobody here would have those games because that was very much a British system. Starcross, as told by Scorpia. No, no, definitely not her. Mm-hmm. For the game hands players contact her through a post office box. Ooh, rough. Still plays it again, but she has no desire to review them. So nobody knows the real name. Fantastic, fascinating. All right, Scorpia. Starcross. Starcross. Is this a Infocom game based on what Starcross game? Interactive fiction. Yep, it's an Infocom game. So you can tell that you needed a map to find location of the alien ship. This is like old school copy protection. So I'll enjoy the description. You'll be captured by the ship. Oh, she's just giving you tips on how to go through. Getting the blue rod and make sure you have the disc to you. I don't to computer room. The computer should reveal. The Zork games. That's another. They're just hard to go back to, man. Like they're probably well made, but the having to constantly go back and forth. Page 46 there is. Scorpion Difficulty. God, I hate this thing. This is terrible page setting. I really don't like it. Curious to learn more about the Scorpia as we read through further issues of Computer Gaming World. Okay. What else do we have here? More wargaming thingies. The fog of war that's foggiest. That's a fun thing. Air Force by Gary Grigsby. But as foggy as a game can get. Zaxxon for the Commodore 64. And this we can probably more or less just skip, I think. Oh, you want to contact Activision? This is their address and this is their phone number. You know, contact Atari Inc. That's this. That's where you reach it. Yeah. Electronic Arts comes to Commodore. Yeah, C64 was definitely the big deal. Um, in 1984 in the US, it seems like. We learned how the Commodore was able to just have a vertically integrated production line, so it was able to make computers very, very cheap, which makes sense why people would then buying them. I got your modem like you always wanted. Oh, I don't believe it. Once I hook it up to this phone line, we can contact people around the world. Great, you made me so happy. Phew, finished. Well, okay. May I have a minute alone to let this all sink in? Hello, Irish sweepstakes. I don't understand this thing. I feel like I'm missing a context clue or something, but list gaming fantasy role playing. Players have conquered the computers were the wizardry and Ultima. Oh, this is basically the early online fantasy role playing games. I guess this is more like play by text, as we would call it, kind of these days. Yeah, this is basically talking about how people. Ooh, 2 hours for a week of connect time is $50 monthly on CompuServe. Back before the days of the paid DM. Next time, we'll look at the ways in which fancy role-playing games run on electronic bulletin board system (BBSs). continued. From what? From what? Did I miss the Conquering Worlds? Are you telling me that the what? This is continued from later on in the magazine? You know, you're kidding, right? No, yeah, it's continued. Oh, wow. Layouts in old magazines is insane. Hmm. Ultima 3, $52. Back at the time, which, you know, it's a lot. Probably like more like 80 today, I want to say. For the Commodore 64 only. The number of truly original ideas has been quite small. Most of the games here are copies or imitations of previously conceived ideas. Yeah, not surprising. Superstars in software business. What's really interesting about the magazine at this time is that it's really less about the games themselves in a way, and more about people's opinion of games and people writing things about games. Like there are some ads, but oh, this is laser tag. We read the rest of Danielle Bunton's thing. I guess here are the reviews. Parthian Kings. Typo. This is not how you spell capital. Planetfall by Infocom, which is the game that Scorpia was giving you the walkthrough for, wasn't it? Was it? No, it was Star something, I think. You know, people complain about gaming naming conventions these days, but back at the time, it was also pretty hard to remember what's what. Space War game. Oh, this is such an arcade game. Maze Chase. Hard Hat Mac. They're avoiding vandals. OSHA inspectors. Why would you avoid OSHA inspectors? I guess they're trying their best to describe things because it was probably a lot more expensive to print pictures, which is when they're not doing a lot of it. But yeah, just the layout of the magazine, so bad, so bad. Reader input device. People love Mule, Wizardry, Ultima 3, Archon, the Zork series. Then it goes down. Semi-animated boarding phase for broadsides. at his phone bill. You've been contacting the entire planet. Place I've never heard of. Where the heck is NORAD? Did you ever see War Games? Open up, FBI. Don't worry, we'll keep in touch. I'll send you a cake with a keyboard in it. So I guess the strip continued here. Okay. Oh, I guess the strip meant that he did contact Ireland. Was that the joke? Where is the strip? Yeah, yeah. The computer contacted Ireland and spent a lot of money. Okay. This SSI. These guys were big. I guess they eventually got the AD&D license. So they're the people that made like Full of Radiance, the Gold Box games. They started as a wargaming company and then moved to other stuff. Hmm, okay. Yeah, I never heard of SSI games before. Cool. And that is the end of our first magazine, which was Computer Gaming World from April 1984. And like I said, this is going to be a double episode because we are going to go and read through Computer Gaming World number 58 from April 1989. Now, it turns out that in 5 years, not a lot changed, really. It still looks the way it looks. It's still black and white. I'm hoping that the layouting is a lot better after a few years have passed. But I guess we're gonna read and find out. Alright, so we have an ad for some flight sims. I guess probably 5 years later, flights, because graphics started becoming more realistic, flight sims and things like that were probably in their prime. The game Annals of Rome, I've definitely seen, I think on GOG, that's why this rings a bell. What else do we have? Low Shelf Esteem. But the Atari ST. State-of-the-art technology I don't think the programmer could afford, but there's lack of software. Yeah, Atari is sort of tanking at this time, I think. Learning about piracy. Learning about 50 cents per copy to our cost of production. Within days, everything was online. One thing I would argue about piracy is that typically people who pirate games are people who can't afford games in the first place, so you're not really losing sales. It's a morally gray area for sure, you know? It's a bummer when sometimes piracy can kill a machine like that. For example, the Dreamcast, I'm pretty sure, died because of piracy, but Editor. We are regularly asked why the industry does not support the Atari ST to the degree it supports the other machines. We appreciate the software executive telling it like it is. What's the Atari ST? It's a successor to the 8-bit family. Productions, print advertisements, America, we built it for you. Interestingly, apparently, this was in number 28, page 4. But something about the executive that Atari had made people really doubt what they were doing. The fuck's this guy, though? There's gotta be a... there we go. American businessman, best known for founding Commodore International. And then he purchased Atari and formed Atari Corporation. People really hated him at Commodore. Fascinating. Their systems. Because the ST market was smaller than that of the IBM PC, was more vulnerable to piracy. Oh, Another World was originally released for Atari. Ooh. No hardware scrolling is rough. Okay. It doesn't seem like such a terrible machine compared to everything, based on everything I've read. But piracy seemed to be an issue, which is fascinating. Murder We Wrote. 7 mysteries from the 13th precinct. Ooh, first Street Fighter. Bionic Commando. I wonder if this is the... This has to be more like the arcade version. Desert Rats, the British import. Many of its game mechanics bear distinct resemblance to both Eastern Front and Knights of the Desert SSI. Is there no... No screenshot for this one. It's a war game. You know how it works, I guess. IBM, Commodore 64, Apple. Stuff about ST and the Mac. Well, no, actually, the Mac was released in '84, so the rumor bag. These are just rumors. The way that they're written, I feel like I've seen something like this before. Maybe in the 1994 version, they also look like this, but this kind of turns me off. Like it's hard for me to parse the rumor based on the stupid story that he's like he goes to Washington D.C. And that's it, I guess. There's a very dramatic security dinner kind of thing, but it's just, um, basic notes on rumors about games. We can skip. The Need for Speed, which is not a Need for Speed game, it's a jet fighter, which is a flying simulator game. Given by Bratterburn, $50. Some rough edges. Tapping the name of your character would hang the program if the name contained the letter X or Z. Why? What about those letters? Uh, It looks like murder mystery adventures were all the rage at the time. This is more like press release stuff. Landscape, ink slicing pack with Mirrorsoft. Lucasfilm received a humanitarian award. Fighter. Tomcat on the prowl. Triton's Top 10 Action Arcade. What do we have? Thunder Chopper. Wings of Fury. Platoon. The Last Ninja. Skate or Die. Yeah, none of these. Like Skate or Die I've heard of. Arkanoid, it's Arkanoid. But most of these games, not particularly. The action slash arcade game on the personal computer has had its day, I think, at this time. On the other hand, this page, that's a lot better. Battletech, I know of mostly because of the more recent games. Maniac Mansion and Zack McCracken classic point-and-click adventures. Might and Magic 2 classic dungeon crawling. Tetris, I guess because it's strategy? These are sports and racing, which, like, whatever. Classics. Elite. The game is just called Ninja. Wizardry 1. I love Rome. Even before 1831, when Edgar Allan Poe compared his idyllic Helen to the grandeur that was Rome. To the Roman Republic, / Empire, planned to recreate the Pax Romana, lasting for a millennium. It's interesting how they have like a subtitle to the paragraph to explain what they're covering. Area movement system divided in provinces. What the next return is randomized? It seems like a bad call. I feel like this is something that further games and this sort of province strategy thing, which, like, I think Europa Universalis and all of those Paradox games probably can trace your lineage back to something like this. What they do is that they've learned to just pause the game when something happens, which is a lot smarter. There's taxing, inflation. Tips on how to deal with rebellion. Game can go on forever. Your hero has played through the year AD 2030. Do not seize Germania or Dacia without going for the whole map. Seizure of these provinces will result in several 100,000 angry Germans and Dacians sweeping down on the Empire. Fascinating simulation, not overly impressive in the beginning, but putting enough time of it gives a good reward. And it's out for the Amiga, the ST, Commodore 64, N128, and the IBM. Tips on some classic games. Why would your show? This is the old adventure game bullshit, where your shovel can only be used 5 times, and if it breaks, well, too bad. I'm glad that we've kind of moved over some of that. The first Wasteland game was already out. Page 51, really? Really? Ultima 4 and 5 and Bart's 2 and 3 were both out at this point. What's interesting is that what I admire about Scorpia in here is that she did have to have played these games, right? Because I could see she could have reached out to the makers or something, but at the time you couldn't just like look up the solution, which is the point of this thing. Hmm. Join the Autobahn Society. The Dual Test Drive 2. Technicup from US Gold. There hasn't been much creeps since another year, blah 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 blah. It's a crash, trash, bash, and bag kind of game set in the future. You're in a car, chase segments. It's basically a driving game where you have to like stop people and bag them. The Magic Candle Volume 1. The Magic Candle is a CRPG in the Ultima style. There is much to here than simply hacking monster. Magic Candle. Magic Candle. Look, Magic Candle game. At least there's verbs. Okay, I see. Doing, talking to people. Kind of interesting. I mean, we will never play it. Oh, this is clearly a more advanced version, probably 3, based on the perspective. We'll probably never play it in the same way that we'll never play any of the Ultima games. But this is one that I think will go on the list. I am shocked that there is a list for this issue, but it seems like there is a list. 1980. List. The Magic Candle. Skill levels for hunting, learning magic, and weapons. Speed, stamina, energy. Charisma is important because you need to talk to people. Hunting is like spotting traps. Monster that's dead stays dead. You rampage through a dungeon for 50 battles and to rampage back for another 50. New monsters sprout up. In this game, each country has a fixed number of patrols and guard posts. When you've wiped them all out, they're gone. I guess until 3 months roll around. The dungeons stay clear permanently. That's nice. Cannon fodder like orcs typically in front. Magic user brains are in the rear. Casting spells. Using magical plants is essential. Spell books can be purchased. Most dungeons are about 45 level deep. No auto mapping feature. Yeah, it's very simple. You can split up the party in subgroups. Oh, there's also professions. Travels on foot, by teleport, via ship. And there is a complex ritual at the end. Definitely recommend well-balanced CRPGs with several good and original features. And then tips, continued on page 42. Yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely one that I will want to check out. Which I'm shocked to say, honestly, but apparently that's the case. Actually, what is it for? Apple 2 or 3, IBM, C64, and 128. So we're probably gonna play it on IBM. Computer Cavalcade Sports. Sports. It is what it is. Blood Captain, or Captain Blood? And a half hours to find a bunch of clones of real time. I need to see. Captain Blood. Oh, this honestly looks better than I expected it to. So all these icons at the bottom kind of have me, ugh. I appreciate the honesty of this person. Captain Blood playthrough, part 1. Likely to be abandoned. Create a galaxy of 32,000 planets and 14 intelligent races with their own language, logical system, personality. You enter the run command and you jump in. Next map, coordinates of the ship position, clock ticking away. View screen with space. Move from planet to planet, there is the hyperspace button. small T. Or 6 crashers will throw it. These icon things. Depending on the alien race, they will either lie to you or say gibberish. Can destroy planets. Oh, and every time you find a clone, you basically the clock restarts. You know what? Yeah, let's add to the list. Captain Blood. And I think the Amiga version is probably the one we want to play here. Wayne Gretzky's hockey. Yeah, whatever. Empire War Game of the Century. I'm good. Someone asks you to try drugs. Think like McGruff. Take a bite out of crime. What was this? Boy, Nobunaga's ambition. Romans of the Three Kingdoms and Genghis Khan. Huh. Server sports. Sports for sports. It's fine. They're sports. There's better version of these out at this point, so. Like classic sport games, I don't really care for. In war games. Advertising like play by mail things. Oh, the magic candle. Yeah. No on disk copy protection. Oh wow, continued from page 6. They've not been as bad with it in this one, but still, it's pretty annoying. Like, this is continued on page 52. Like, Jesus. Contra. War in Middle Earth? Is this, yeah. Must see the One Ring is strategic maps with large courses. It's a war game based on Tolkien. That's funny. Study the classics. 5 classic issues back for $10. Did we read 4-4? Oh no, we're at 4-2. Yeah. Oh god, is this what the next empire looks like? Play by mail printouts like this every turn. Ugh. Space Max, Space Station Constructor Simulator. The Gold Rush! Oh, it's more like a point-and-click adventure, huh? Animated adventure game. Yep. Young gentleman and city slicker preparing to seek his fortune. Players should look for visible and invisible clues. Cool. How do I look for invisible clues? Hall of Fame. Strategy. Skip. Action Adventure. Ultima 4. Wizardry. Starfight. Gunship. Ultima 3. Might Magic. Bard's Tale. The top 100. Dungeon Master has the highest rating. I've never heard of this. Empire. The one that we studied at 4. Might Magic 2. Ultima 5. I guess rating really here is popularity more than rating. And here SSI had started doing the official D&D games. Tangle Tales. Alright, and yeah, that will do it for this number. I think this is becoming a little bit more interesting. The one from 1984 was really hard to get through, partly because it was a lot more opinions and it was a lot less about the games. This one, at least, we had like a full 2-page spread about a game that I read, and I was like, oh, shit, this is interesting. So, I think we're getting closer to what we're used to, but still, I probably only want to do these as like companions to other shows. Like next month, we're gonna skip the 1984 because there isn't a release, and then for the 1994 one, we might like combine it with the next number from 1989. But yeah, found a couple of cool games to try. Maybe eventually at some point, if we ever run through Annals of Rome, I look at it and it's just like no, too like I would rather just play a Paradox game at that point. Uh, and otherwise, nothing much. There seems to be some amount of the market at this point seems a little bit split. There's a lot of RPGs. There's a lot of ads for things like the flight sims or fighting simulators. War games are still big, though they're getting smaller, it seems like. Um, their sport review, it's like, whatever. It's like, we don't really have time to cover these before. We're going to cover all of them now at once. And it doesn't really affect me. It's interesting to see like an ad for Koi. It's gonna be a long time before we get to these days. But yeah, I think this will do it. So thank you for checking out this very ancient required reading. It was a pleasure going through it. Feel free to like, follow, subscribe. If you're watching this video, make sure to check out both my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/gameswithnick, where I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays, it's a modern game. Thursdays, it's a retro game. And also make sure to check out my main channel, youtube.com/@gameswithnick. Thank you for the support and the love on the retro channel. I've been really appreciating it. And I think this is going to do it for us. So signing off, I just want to remind you to let's keep retro playing together.